Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am planting as much as I can today. It is the end of May and I have been bringing my stuff in and out and nurturing it all season long. So I'm going to be putting my peas into this container. However, I planted my peas in a larger container with my beans. I split it right in half. So I'm going to be transplanting the beans into their container as well while I do this, and using the rest of the soil to put into the pot. So the first thing that I'm going to do is the very dangerous part because of how tiny these guys are. So let me move this out of the way. Now I don't suggest you start stuff together unless you mark it or you know what it looks like. These are the beans and these are the peas. So I'm going to first get the dead stuff up. Yeah, my beans did not make the hardening off process. One bit. I'm going to steady myself and I'm going to very carefully go down and under and loosen the soil up enough for me to get them out. Yeah, I'm going to be taking some of the soil and dropping it into the pot. Once I get out my peas with their very long taproot, I'm going to put it in the pot. I'm going to rearrange so you can see with the next one how I put it in the pot. All I do is I make a little hole and I put it in just enough to cover it up for now so that the roots are covered. Now this is a 10-gallon cloth planter. It's nothing special. And I found a rotten seed. Now if you get more than one out, just very carefully separate them and continue what you were doing all along. Try to keep them as evenly spaced as you can so that they each have an equal shot. At survival. Is this a bean or a pea? That is a bean. So, I also have some garlic growing that my kids planted. And this is very good at keeping thrip away. So, I put a little bit there. I make sure all my leaves are showing. And I move on to my beans. So with the beans, we do the same exact thing as the peas. However, you're more likely to have them come out a lot easier. Their taproot is a lot thinner. And you literally just put them in there.
Mama, where's all my mother?
Make sure you spread them out.
Mommy,
Whew. And you spread them out just like you did the peas so that they have room to grow. Now this year I have a mix of the beans that I grew last year. I saved some seeds from, and I forgot that I saved the seeds from them. So I went out and I bought more beans. They're both Blue Lake bush beans. The ones I bought had a number 47 next to it, and those are seeds that I bought. And the plant that I bought last year didn't have anything next to it. So, I like to put them around the outside so that there's room for them to grow in as well. And last year, I had a difficult time getting them to stay straight. So I'm keeping the pot a little lower so that it supports them from the side. Now you want to make sure you don't cover any of the leaves as you're doing this. And just like the peas, I'm going to place a thing of garlic in the pot as well. And with the rest of the soil, I'm going to spread it in between them. And there will be roots if you're taking your plants out in this method. I don't put it right up against the stem, and I did find another bean. Okay. This one started growing the wrong way. It may die because it has not seen the sun, and I just threw it right out into the sun. But by placing the soil around the plants, it ensures that their roots are covered. It also allows me to find all the rocks that my kids have hidden in. Now, as these guys grow up, I'll be layering the soil up around them slowly for them to put out some roots as they go along. And do not worry about getting dirt on the leaves as long as you don't completely bury them, because it will wash off as soon as it rains. So this one is all set, and I'm going to put the dirt into the peas and we will move on to the herbs. Okay, now that I'm all set up for my herbs, I put the last of the soil from the beans in. Now, some of these I'm actually planting from seed. So first, I'm going to put my mint in, right in the center. Now my mint looks very sad because I actually uprooted it from my grandmother's yard. However, the only thing of importance is the roots because they will spread. Now I have two different mints here. I have a peppermint and a pineapple mint. The pineapple mint is the one I like, and I have them slightly separated. And all you do is you add your soil around it. Now this one I don't have a marker for because this was a last minute lollygag. But I have my dill, which is going to go right there. My chives. My basil. I actually have 2 cups of basil. My parsley. My cilantro. And I'm going to sprinkle oregano seeds. Now, if you let your plants dry out a little bit, this makes it a whole lot easier to do. You just dig your hole, place your cup in. My soil level's down there, so that's perfect. Fingers on the soil, around the stems. Pinch your bottom, and it comes right out. Now, I am going to be planting more seeds for each variety, so don't worry about that either. So, this is my chives. Put my stick right there. And I will be back when we get to the oregano so you can see how I sprinkle my seeds. Okay, so if you plant something too deep, like I did with my chives, you push a little dirt off to the side and reach down below where you planted it and then fill the dirt in. And that brings it up to the surface with the rest of them. However, with the mint, you don't need to worry about planting it too deep. It is very resilient. And as far as the mint goes, I didn't make a name for them. These are just popsicle sticks. I just write its name on a stick, and now it has one too. So I did promise that I would show you how I plant the seeds. So I'm going to start with the oregano. Now, oregano likes to stay drier than most of its herbs counter pieces. Let's see here. Tabasco, ghost pepper, oregano. It also has very tiny seeds. So that's my cucumbers. Just trying to find all my herbs and all the seeds I'm going to need. Those are tomatoes, chives. What are those? That's my lettuce. Lettuce. Dill. And the rest of my herbs should be in this container. Okay, these are carrots. So, I'm going to take the oregano. As you can see, it is a very tiny seed. You just want to sprinkle it and be careful to keep it where you want it. So get your soil all set. The oregano gets sprinkled literally right on top of the soil. Just like that. Now also I had a very poor germination rate of these. I had one come up and it died. So I plan to put a little extra of the seeds down. Now the next one I have is chives. I have two different varieties of chives that I'm growing this year. So I'm going to sprinkle a little here and a little there. Again, I plant these the same way that I plant my oregano, except these are a little bit bigger. And then I have two varieties of dill as well. Dill is a larger seed.
It's gonna be fast. Anna, have you found any of mine? No?
It's called fennel. Yeah, dill. Okay. I'm mixing my herbs up, don't mind me. So I'm going to put some dill here as well. And with the dill, because it's larger, you can rub it into the soil and it'll come up. Just be gentle and don't pack it in too much. This will help keep the birds from eating it. This is my other dill that I'm growing. That was a banquet dill. This is a mammoth dill. This is a combination of the two, just like this is a combination of the two chives that I'm growing. However, this has some of the dill itself mixed in. So I do the same thing, except I'm doing it on the opposite side. And I'm doing it with a little bit more. And then I mix it. Into the soil, trying not to mix the oregano with it. However, there will be some mixing of seeds. Now, I have my chives, the other variety of chives that I grew. Both of them just say chives. But I don't know if they're different varieties. So they're going to be mixed together. Like so. Okay. Now my cilantro, I had good germination rate, but it didn't make the hardening off process. Cilantro seeds are called fennel. They are used for pickling, but you can eat the leaves and the stem of the plant as well. These seeds are extremely large compared to all the other seeds. I tend to mix them in as I go along. And I just cover them ever so slightly with the dirt. Again, trying not to mix my seeds together. And finally, I have my parsley. I did have good luck with the parsley, the dill, and exceptional luck with the basil. However, we use a lot of dill and parsley. So I want to make sure that I have extra. Now the parsley seeds look very similar to the dill seeds. They're a little smaller, but they're rounded, making it easier to mix them in as you go along. This also gives me dill to harvest at different stages. However, the basil, because I had the basil from last year come up, and the basil seeds that I bought this year, I'm not going to put more basil seeds in. So that is how I plant my herb garden. Now, I do know that the oregano and the cilantro need less moisture than the other plants that I'm growing, which is why I ensure a deep watering so that there's moisture deep down for the other plants, and these guys have the dry soil up top that their roots like. It's a balancing act. Okay, so now I'm going to be planting my cucumbers. I have Garden Sweetie, and I have Japanese long cucumbers that I bought. Apparently, I have another pack coming in that somebody else bought me. Thank you very much. These are my favorite cucumbers, the Japanese long cucumbers. And I have another variety of Japanese cucumber that my mother started for me. As you can tell from the peat pot, I did not start these. I did plant the rest of the seeds because they didn't make the transport all that well. This is the only one that's still somewhat alive. And these are called, if you give me 1 second, I kept the baggie. Okay, these are called Tokiwa cucumbers over there. They're a type of Japanese cucumber. I believe they are a hybrid, a cross between a cross
I'm gonna go. Yes.
a cross between Tokyo Green and something else. So
Mom,
let's plant.
I need this.
Okay, so we're going to plant the garden sweeties. I'm not going to separate them because they are a vine. All I'm going to do is dig a hole,
A bicycle.
size it out, and like I did before, I'm going to put my fingers in around the stems and squeeze
Where's my salad?
and pop.
Honey, I'm buying you a bicycle, and I'm doing whatever you said to me. Let me buy you a bicycle.
Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing with the rest of the cucumbers, and I will be back when it's time to do something else. Okay, so as you can see with the Tokiwa, with the Tokiwa cucumbers, I may have sunflowers come up. My mother gave me a mix of cucumbers and a mix of sunflowers, and I could not remember what was what, and they were looking pretty sad. All I know is this is a cucumber because the cucumber seed is on it. They look very similar when they start, with similar seed leaves. However, once they get their first set of real leaves, that's when you could tell them apart. So I put them all in this container, and if there are sunflowers, I will be transplanting them. I'm moving on to my tomatoes and my peppers now. I'm going to start with my black Krim tomato. This is a Russian black Krim, and everywhere the stem touches will put out roots. So you want to plant your tomatoes as deep as possible. You do want to leave soil at the bottom for them to grow down as well. So when you do this, you want to plant it down to the first set of leaves. If you have more leaves, you want to pinch them off and you want to plant it deeper. So you could take off your leaves and plant it up. So I have 3 leaves, that's one set. I can't go any deeper than that. If I had 6 leaves, I could take off the bottom leaves and do that. And if I had suckers, I could take off all the leaves on the suckers except the ends, and I could run them out and up.
Here, I'm doing it to you.
So this is my black Krim tomato. And now I'm going to plant the rest of my tomatoes, and I'll be back to show you how to plant the peppers. Okay, so this is my peppuccini that I chose to keep. This is actually the nicest looking of all my peppers, and you can see that I have suckers growing already off the sides. So I'm only going to plant it up to here where the first set of suckers are coming out. Typically you can plant them as deep as you want, but with peppers you're only going to get roots to grow up to where the seed leaves were. So if you want to plant it deeper because you live in a windy area or you want more stability, go ahead. The stem's not going to rot. But you're only going to get leaves up to where the first set of seed leaves were. Roots up to where the first set of seed leaves were. And if you're planting it deep, make sure that you take the leaves off. You don't want to rob your soil of nitrogen.
I'm still not really used to how I have to, like, grab the handle and move up.
Are you still recording? Okay. So that is it. Simple. And if you wanted, when you plant it, to take off the damaged leaves from your hardening off process, you can. But I'm going to leave those and let them fall off on their own. So that is my peppers. That is my tomatoes. And I have a surprise of something else I'm going to plant in with them. So when I'm done planting all my peppers, we will be back and I will let you in on the surprise. Remember, the 27th is our 3-year anniversary here on YouTube, and I thank you all for tuning in. So stay tuned for the special surprise I have at the end. Okay, so I've never grown potatoes in containers, so this is a first for me. But what I do is I take potatoes that start to grow in the house, just as is, and I stick them in the dirt and I let them grow. And I don't do any method to the madness. I don't space them out. I just stick them in the dirt, and that's it. And yes, I find random things in my dirt all the time because of my kids. So I already planted some yellow ones that weren't looking too hot and pulled out some really dead ones, really stinky ones. And now I'm planting the red ones. So we will have potatoes this year. And I have lots of wormies in my soil because I throw compost in constantly. So I then level the soil out. I don't pack it. And I label it, but I do believe I stuck the label under the flower pot. So it just says red on it. Here it is. Red. Red potatoes. So I will let you know how my potato garden does. I have the yellows in a 5-gallon and I have the reds in a 10-gallon because we like the reds better. I'm going to set my plants up where they're going to be on their stand, which is our anniversary special. We're going to be building a stand for the planters this year. And I will be back for the surprise at the end of this video. So, thank you, and I'll be right back. Alright, so last year, if you recall, we put marigolds in to help ward off critters from eating our plants, as well as to ward off a few bugs. This year, I also have geraniums. Geraniums are really good at deterring aphids. So aphids like to eat your plants, but they don't like geraniums. So if you plant these, especially by rose bushes, you're not going to have as big of a problem with aphids. So it's not just rose bushes that aphids like to eat. Any kind of nice, greeny, lush plant, ants will farm aphids on. So I've got some geraniums. I'm going to put a geranium diagonally at each end of my garden, and I'm going to take these 8 marigolds and I'm going to plant them throughout, evenly spaced. I plant them the same way that I plant any other of my plants in my garden. The same way I showed you how to take them up, and I do it to the first bit of growth, which on the marigolds would be here, a little bit above the soil level. So I hope you enjoyed our video, and I hope you enjoy watching our garden grow. Until next time, thank you.